everybody doing? Good evening, good evening, good evening. I have all my chat boxes open, so I will be taking comments and questions tonight. Hey, this is the Digital Orthodontist Live. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. Kyle Fagala, and tonight we're going to be discussing the topic of influencers. If you don't know what an influencer is, well, we're going to talk about it tonight, and we're going to hopefully explain to you both how you could be an influencer if you want to be, but I think more universally, how you can work with local influencers who can help support your brand and help build your business. My three guests tonight will be Dr. Grant Collins, aka the Braces Guy, who has 3.3 million followers on TikTok and counting. Dr. Bobby Peterson, a Brooklyn orthodontist and star of Being Bobby on YouTube. And Dr. Dovi Prero, the original king of Instagram. But first, I want to do a plug for a meeting that's coming up that I hope that you will all attend. And so this is going to be the Digital Orthodontist Live Meeting 2021 on April 8th and 9th. It's going to be live and in person from my new home in Memphis. Of course, it'll be a virtual meeting for you, but I'm going to fly 10 of the biggest and most inspiring names in ortho out to my home, and we're going to do the meeting together. So it's going to be much, much better. As you can see from this photo, we have Dr. Stuart Frost, Cole Johnson, Nicole Wax, Anil Adicula, David Sarver, Courtney Berry, Shane Langley, Lisa Alvitro, Candace Coleman, Chris Feldman, and my co-host and co-partner at Neon Canvas, Alex Rasmussen. We're going to cover items that apply to everyone in your practice, so please bring your teams. And like last year's meeting, we're going to keep the tempo fast-paced with the focus on making the content high-yield and relevant to the practicing orthodontist. Also, this meeting remains the only live and interactive meeting in ortho, and we're going to be pulling out all the stops to make it even bigger and better this year. You can register now on tdolive.com, and you'll save 50% off with the promo code EARLYBIRD, which makes it just $50 for doctors and $25 for staff. That is a steal. I promise you. You have no idea what we're planning for this thing. It is going to be unreal. That also includes 8 hours of CE from 3M, so it is a no-brainer. All right, one more quick thing that I want to make you aware of. Of course, we're talking about influencers tonight. We actually collaborated, that being Neon Canvas, with Lightforce Orthodontics to create a 55-page guide on influencer marketing for orthodontists. And so this is one of the most common topics that comes up when we talk to clients at Neon Canvas. And this guide goes into detail on how to tell if influencer marketing is a good fit for your practice, how to get connected with influencers in your area, and how to tell if influencer marketing is working for you. You can download your free guide at lightforceortho.com/influencers. lightforceortho.com/influencers. This is a completely free guide. It's 55 pages. It's really great stuff. I promise you that it'll be of a benefit to you, so go download it. All right, so we are going to bring on Drs. Grant Collins, Bobby Peterson, and Dovi Prero, some people whose faces you probably recognize. All right, there's Dovi, there's Bobby, and there is Grant. There goes Bobby. Come back on, Bobby. There she is. I like that. It was like a curtain call. This is awesome. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited.
Don't you hate it when you're the least handsome person in the room? That's how I'm feeling right now, but it's okay.
Lies.
Yeah, so lies. I don't think it's a lie. I always tell people whenever I have a dermatologist in the office, they always offer up that I have type 1 skin. And they say it like it's this terrible thing. You have type 1 skin. Do you use sunscreen? Guys, this is great. Thank you for doing this. Of course, I have to embarrass you a little bit and read your bios because it turns out that your bios are extremely impressive and multifaceted. I don't think it should surprise anybody that people who are really creative, that are, that are doing influencing, that are really big on social media, like to do lots of different stuff. And so I think what you'll find amongst these three is that they're into a real wide swath of different things, like myself. So it's great. So Dr. Grant Collins attended St. Olaf College. St. Olaf, that sounds made up, but I'm going to go with it. For undergrad, where he was captain of his soccer team. Fantastic. He went to Minnesota for dental, and he went to Mayo Clinic for ortho, where he was the single resident. I love that. He opened Collins Orthodontics in his hometown of Rochester, Minnesota, alongside his wife, Kimberly, who, like my wife, Anna, hi, Anna, serves as office manager in December of 2013. I was July 2013, so we are contemporaries in that sense. Mm-hmm. He's won too many awards to list them all, but a notable one is his first place AAO Charlie Schultz Award for resident research. Bravo. And as the braces guy, he has 3.3 million fans and nearly 200 million likes on TikTok, which only took him 2 years. And also, no big deal, 229,000 followers on Instagram. And most importantly, he loves, and I mean loves, ice cream. Dr. Grant Collins. Very true. If there's anything to know about Grant, it is his love.
That's all you need.
Yes. All right. So Dr. Bobby Peterson, I guess on your screen, she's down here. Hey, Bobby. She studied dentistry at Howard University in Washington, D.C. She practiced as a GP for 5 years. God bless you. And then she decided to return to school to get her ortho certificate from Maimonides with my buddy Anish Kala. Sorry, Anish. What's up, Anish? Anish is going to kill me for that. Give me your stock tips, Anish. All right. Dr. Bobby owns and operates a successful orthodontic practice in Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn. Where she offers facial fillers, braces, clear aligners, dental cleanings, teeth whitening, and her patent-pending line of tooth jewelry called Oral Fixation. What don't you do? Well, here's another thing she does. She has a juice bar and a smoothie bar called Thirst RX inside her office. It's fabulous. Cool. Dr. Bobby's been featured on Good Morning America and about 1,000 other things. And then she's the star of her YouTube series, Being Bobby, which I love the name of. And she has over 32,000 followers on Instagram. Dr. Bobby Peterson, how are you?
I am well, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. All right. And then we will end with my buddy, Dr. Dovey Pereira, who is to my left. I have to check my monitor, to my left. And he attended, is it Towson? Is that right?
Towson University. Yeah.
Towson. I almost Googled it. Towson University in Baltimore for undergrad studies. He moved on to receive a master's degree in education from Loyola. Whoa. How do you say that?
Loyola.
I don't know. I got stuck on that. University of Maryland. We're just going to move on. He then attended dental school at UCLA. He caught the California bug. He did his orthodontic residency at USC. And then he received a master's in craniofacial biology. Nerd alert. And he's board certified. And I love this. Additionally, he has completed rabbinic ordination. How about that? That's awesome.
That's right.
Dr. Pereira owns Pereira Orthodontics in Beverly Hills, where, among other things, he makes smiles more beautiful than they already were. Or are. But I'm sure if you're one of his 34,000 followers on Instagram, then you already knew that. All right. So let's get into the fun. Don't you love bios? Aren't they great? They either put you to sleep or they draw you in. I don't know, but exactly. I love them. You guys are very interesting and very inspiring people. So thank you for letting me read those. All right. So let's talk about being an influencer. We're going to start with that. We're going to get back around to how to work with influencers. So if you're like, I'm not going to be an influencer, well, stick with this. It'll be interesting anyway, and then we'll get to something that's relevant to you. Of course, there's lots of teams, my team included. There's lots of doctors that are inspired by you guys daily and that have grown their practices based on things that they've learned from you. I would also just say that the work that all of you guys do to further, I think, the perception of the orthodontist among people is really strong and powerful. And that, to me, on some levels, is the theme of all this. But let's start with this. And how did you choose what platforms that you focus on? How'd you pick Instagram or TikTok or whatever? Dovey, you want to kick us off?
So I started with Instagram because when I first was starting with social media in general, looking for the platform that came most intuitive to me. I had been on Instagram already, and it was before like Snapchat had taken over it to some extent. And it was really family friendly, the family friendly platform. The way I thought of it is like Facebook is for the moms, and then Snapchat was for the kids, and Instagram was right in the middle, hitting up both of them. So jumped on it. I used to use it just for the filters of the photos. And then, I saw a plastic surgeon down in Miami who was using it in the OR, and he was just teaching people about what he was doing every day. And I said, you know what, I think I can do this for ortho. And so I just started on Instagram, both on the story and then also on the feed, just using the platform to teach and to get the word out.
So, I got on Instagram, I don't know, relatively early. I really did most of the work in terms of building the practice on Facebook. And in some ways, I've sort of stepped back as our practice has gotten busier. Bobby, you do some on YouTube. Obviously, your my biggest following is on Instagram. Yeah. Grant's on Instagram, TikTok. Is there anything about like YouTube that's like different? Do you feel like it's helpful with patients, or is it more of just sort of a creative itch kind of a thing?
Well, for me, I focused on Instagram because that picked up a lot faster for me. So my YouTube I use for a certain thing. My Instagram actually I started my Instagram. It came about when I was like kind of tired of Facebook, to say so to speak.
Yeah.
And at the time, the majority of the younger generation was on Instagram, and I know that I was trying to basically focus on a younger audience. So at that time, I was like, let me just focus on Instagram, and I could be more relatable to my patients and my clientele.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's true of like everyone of a certain age. It was like, I'm tired of the arguing on Facebook. And I
Right.
think for me, at least, Instagram still remains my favorite site. Grant, you jumped on TikTok before just about anyone else I knew, which now seems very smart. Only 2 years ago. This is the 2-year anniversary. You might know that.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
caused you to do that? And then we'll
Yeah.
talk also about kind of what you're doing on TikTok. So what content works for you on TikTok? But why'd you choose it first?
Yeah, good question. I actually had a patient just randomly tell me about it and said, "Hey, you should try TikTok." And I'm like, "What's TikTok?" And she's like, "It's just a bunch of short videos, and I think people would like you," because she had followed us on Instagram and kind of saw our family stuff and things like that. So I checked it out, and I said I just dabbled in it for the first few posts, and I'm like, "This is kind of cool because it gives you an opportunity to be creative in some short form video." And I always liked that about Instagram. And so I thought at first I just started actually creating videos that I could save and download and post on Instagram. I didn't even care about the TikTok part of it. And then all of a sudden one just randomly went big one day. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And I enjoyed more and more of them. And then it just kind of grew from there. So yeah, just a lot of short form videos, and it gives me a creative outlet, which I really like.
Yeah. So what kind of content is doing best for you guys? And I guess I would say this, like, there's dozens and dozens of other influencers in orthodontic space. What I really like about this topic is that the ones that do well at it, in my opinion, do it in a way that's unique to them. They're not trying to copy people. The three of you for sure do what you do in your own way. And I also like that each three of you share about your life. You share about your practice. You're sort of an open book, and you're real. Like, I feel like if I sat down for coffee with Dr. Bobby, I have a sense of who she would be. The other two of you I've met, but that's just from social media, right? So, but what kind of content does best for you? Like, we'll go back in the same order real quick. Dovey, what's kind of content's working for you?
So we get a lot of good feedback from our clinical stuff, just posting before and afters, and then also just clinical, like daily stuff that goes on in the office. And then also like my family stuff, people, it really resonates. My patients will come in and ask me, "Oh yeah, I saw, taking David out to the park." And, I think it gives you some sense of genuineness, like they really can know who you are. And often it comes with authority. If you can explain something, then they think you're good at it. And it's true. And if you can show that you're a good family man or a family person, that goodwill carries over to the clinical practice.
Yeah. Bobby, what about you? Now, I want to say this too. Like, we have Brooklyn, we have Beverly Hills, we have Minnesota, we have Memphis. That was by intent. So people are going to respond to things differently. But what's working for you in Brooklyn?
So I think that, and I'm sure that everyone on the panel can kind of attest to the fact that when people think about dentists, especially orthodontists, they look at us as very stuffy people. They look at us as not having like a real life. So I feel like your audience, your patient base, they need to be able to connect with you on some level. So yes, we have been in contact with, say, some certain celebrities or whatever, but I feel like when they first come into your office, they need to see who you are. They need to see that you are a real person. And I think that that's something that we all have in common. So if you look at my page, you look at Instagram, you see my life, you see my personality, you get a sense of who I am. And I think people are like fascinated by that to a certain extent, because they look at doctors as, stuffy people. Like, you look at the braces guy, he has an amazing sense of humor. You look at Dovey, he's, he presents himself in a way that a lot of people can relate to. So I think that as long as you do that, you're going to get that connection and you'll be able to build. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's great. Grant, you had a poll. You like to do polls. Dovey does too. Polls are great. It's like easy engagement. What cereal do you like the most? That's a perfect question.
Exactly.
But you asked one question one time about, like, do you want more like Karen videos or more like clinical videos? It's like, oh, Karen videos. Like, smash the Karen video. And the clinical videos was winning. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You have the craziest followers ever. But so does clinical do the best for you or what?
To be honest, it's a combination, to be honest. And in TikTok, it's a different world than Instagram. I feel like Instagram and Facebook, you have a following that already are fans most of the time. And when you are on TikTok, your video is getting served to people who may have never seen you before. So you have to kind of have a point to them. And sometimes you either got to be entertaining in some way, whether it be some type of funny content or something relatable really works well. If people can relate to an experience they've had at an orthodontist, they do great with that. Or you give them information that can be useful to them. You have to provide value in some way for them to actually like what they're seeing. Versus on Instagram, they're fans of my family. And I've found that even when I do family posts on TikTok, it's a little different. It's because some people don't know that as well. So it's a little bit different feel on TikTok, and you don't have much time to really give them a reason to watch what you need to. If you watch someone swipe through TikToks, it's half a second. You don't have much time for that. So we found that I have to provide value in some way. And I like the creative stuff. I like the funny stuff because it's just what I enjoy the most. So I kind of do this stuff for me more than anyone else. And that's kind of, I don't know.
Here I thought it was just for me, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, for you as well too.
Yeah. I love the funny stuff, but honestly, I mean, I really truly love all the three of you and all that you do. So I like a variety of things. Let's shift on into this actually. I think a really common question you get is on time management and how much time it takes each day and each week. And I know you're going to want to say, oh, like 5 minutes, maybe 6, 7 minutes, but let's be honest, kind of round robin. We'll start with Grant. We'll come back around the other direction. How much time does it take? And then I guess is a converse or not a converse, but is it a struggle to keep up with it?
To be honest, it depends on the video type I'm doing. I mean, honestly, there's some TikToks you can film in 5-10 minutes because it is short form. You can film it within the app, and some take a lot of time of editing and doing some things. And I mean, with Final Cut Pro or different things. So it does take time. But in all honesty, it's like I would suggest spend as much time as you do enjoying it. I mean, we have if it's cutting into family time, if it's cutting into time that you could be being a good leader to your team, then I really think those things should always trump social media time. It's just, I found that out the hard way too. And so I'm in the process of cutting back right now of how much we're posting per week. Just because it's just, when it comes down to it, relationships should always trump this kind of stuff, real life ones. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Bobby, what about you? Time.
For me, so I'm new to TikTok now. I'm actually thinking of duetting some of the braces guys videos.
Yes,
he likes that.
I definitely will. I'm fairly new to TikTok, but I do understand the difference. So even with my Instagram, I still control my personal Instagram, but I have my staff, they control my All Things Dr. Bobby Instagram, my professional Instagram, and also the Thirst for Rex Instagram. I just don't have enough time. I have enough time for one major social media platform. And for me right now, it's Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Dovey, is someone going to give me hours? I want to hear hours. Everyone's giving like very political answers.
Yeah.
The last before. I post twice a day.
Twice a day.
The last before and after post that I put formatting and getting the photos right and putting the overlays, it was a 2-hour post.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, but we got some nice engagement on it. And then people walk in the door and they say, I saw your work and I know that you're a good doctor. I want to start treating with you. So, if I'd spent 2 hours meeting with a doctor for lunch, then I can spend 2 hours. And even that's a little bit more, but the reach is far reaching. But I think I'll echo everybody else's comments that I'm still learning the balance. And so it's a long time effort to cut back always.
Yeah. I'm still a TikTok holdout. So I'm officially an old fuddy-duddy. I just know the time. Like I love the idea of that. I loved Vine back when it was a thing.
Yeah.
And, never was a creator or whatever, but, and then I can't do it as well as Grant. I still remember Grant at a meeting, maybe it was like MKS 3, I think. And he was like, yeah, I've got these like really cool ideas. And you kind of like were mentioning some of them. I was like, how are you going to do all that stuff? I'm not going to ask Grant that. That's the question I always ask Grant is, how do you get all this stuff done? I'm just not going to ask him. So he does not sleep, or he's just the fastest video editor of all time.
Ice cream.
So I think,
yes.
We could do like a talk on social media and mental health and all that. I think that's very important. There's been a lot with the social dilemma in particular, kind of bringing that to the forefront. Grant, you talked about how you're going to be like kind of backing off a little bit. Do you find that that's the case with feeling sort of trapped by this whole following that you've created and being an influencer? And are there times where you're like, I wish I could just turn this off? Does anyone feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like what happened was we grew really fast and it was a really fun journey. And all of a sudden we're like, wow, we got 1 million followers, we're verified, we're all this kind of stuff. And you can kind of get caught up in the followers and the likes. So like without even knowing it, you're kind of like, oh yeah, you get that feedback. We're trained to have metrics to give us feedback. And really until I realized, oh man, that's taking a toll on my mental health. So now I post and I walk away. I don't even watch it. I maybe reply to a few. And if I'm not in the right space, I'm kind of backing off in general. The fun part for me is the creation part. That is fun. So it's the behind the scenes stuff. The posting is great. If people get value from it, that's awesome too. But you got to be careful, because I think you see a lot of influencers too. I mean, you're out there and there's days where you're like, man, it can be kind of tiring when you're out there that much. So that's why you got to go back to the foundational items, the relationships in your own life that mean the most and that matter the most. You got to come back to that, and so that's constantly what I'm trying to just keep a check on. So.
Dr. Bobby, for you, is it a thing where like doing this actually gives you like energy and that you like really enjoy it? That would be my sense of you, but tell me.
Kyle, I always have energy. I think that, and I wanted to ask Grant this. TikTok is a more fast pace for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I'm new to it, and he can comment on that, let me know, but it's so much more fast paced, where if I post a video, it kind of picks up so much faster. Instagram is a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me, I love my platform, and you keep your followers on Instagram, and you remain with that platform for a while. But with Instagram, it's a lot faster, like he said. It's a lot faster, and you can reach a lot of different audiences. I think that the difference between the two, I'm very interested in like delving into it, but the difference between the two is a little bit drastic, because you can speak on that, Grant.
Well, I guess what I would say is that I know the commenting on TikTok is different than on Instagram. Each site has its own sort of native language, and it would seem from a very outsider's perspective, again, because I'm not on there. I'm on there. I follow Grant, and that's about it. But it's a little more cutthroat, and I would think that your success probably leads to that, that kind of feeling trapped. And I know this is not necessarily universal to just about anyone else out there, right? But I think it is an interesting picture into it, and that on micro levels, like I felt worn out by, having to do a podcast or having to run a Facebook group or even on my own Instagram. And there are times where I just sort of back away from it. Mm-hmm. And even our Facebook page, which Facebook has sort of taken a turn down in terms of what engagement we can get out of it. But there's a point where like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think it's okay. What I would just say in a general sense is to hit the pause button and come back to it later. There's nothing saying you have to do this stuff. Maybe Grant does, because TikTok sends him like surfboards and stuff. But
well, I think I was going to say, I think just making sure you're focusing on the things that give you joy in these things, and not doing it for anything else. Right. And to me, I love creating videos, and I love the idea formulation with my team and bringing them in and letting it show my personality. But the second you become a slave to the social media channel that you have to do something or whatever, man, that's where it gets rough. So just keeping that in check, I think, is important, and just knowing and being self-aware of where you're at mentally is an important part of the process. So I love it, but you got to always make sure you're keeping your mental health in check throughout this whole thing. I think most influencers would agree. So
yeah, that's great. Well, guys, even the Beatles broke up. So, so there's a time and place for everything. All right. So Bobby, I want to shift into a little bit more of a personal question. If anyone follows you, they might be aware of this, but you were diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020. Yes. As if 2020 needed to be more stressful than it already was.
Right.
How in the world did you manage a practice that does all that yours does with the social media following that you have, all while battling against cancer? What was that like?
So you basically do what you have to do. Like sometimes, you're just so, and we all are accustomed to working really hard. Your body is just like kind of like a machine. And I was diagnosed in January, and basically, there was no choice. It was, I have a very great support system. My daughter is my treatment coordinator. My mom is my office manager. I've had the same staff for a long time, and you guys know what that means when you've had a functioning business for a long time and you have a staff that really supports you and really rides for you. So I had that, thank God. And my personal life was very, very solid. So, I was able to do that. So I didn't initially mean to start the Being Bobby YouTube. Like I didn't initially mean to do that. I was recording the videos for myself and my family because I hadn't told anyone, and it kind of just developed that way. But yeah, it's been a really big success, and it's actually helped a lot of people that were diagnosed. Yes, and through the pandemic, with the hospital situation and you know just being immunosuppressed in this type of environment has definitely been challenging. But thank God I've been able to do the YouTube and help other people and healthcare providers as well, and just kind of school them on the things that you need to do when you are immunosuppressed in this type of environment.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that the storytelling has been therapeutic,
yes,
perhaps on some level, which is, I think, social media at its best is the degree to which it can connect us and really generate relationships that we wouldn't otherwise have. I think from a business perspective, sales are predicated on a couple things, on a perceived relationship and trust. And our storytelling and the activities that we put in, and the time we put in, it all leads to the perception of a relationship, real or otherwise, and certainly trust. And certainly I've got patients that I could call them, good friends. And some of that is because they know about my life from Instagram or whatever. So there's nothing wrong with that.
That's so important, Kyle. That's so important that your patients and your platform can relate to who you are, because for some reason people look at doctors as these untouchable people or these people that have these stuffy lives. So when they can relate to you, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, it is about relating to people. I think when it's done best, which is predicated on being a real person and being authentic. And so I think to anyone that's like trying to figure out how they can be more effective in this is be yourself. It's not going to be from writing down the 10 things that Grant does and doing those things, because you won't do it as well as Grant. So don't try. Just do your own thing. Grant, I'm going to keep talking about you. Oh, go ahead. Does someone have something?
No, I was saying you're right. Be yourself. And even if you don't have that huge social media platform, what I think is really important is us as orthodontists, we see 70 patients a day, 50 patients a day. Have something in your waiting area that shows your patient population who you are. Let them relate to you even there while they're waiting to come in and see you. Because who knows, they'll all start following you if they can relate to you on some way. And that's hundreds of people that will start following you per month. So
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about a little bit in the office. Grant, I was reading your excellent expose in Orthotown, and you made I was I tried to do my research. Nice. You made a great point about team culture, and I think this is true. And I also say the same thing. Is that before? So if you're out there and you're like, I don't know how we can do this. I saw a question about how the team can get a little silly. How do you get the energy but stay professional? Which is sort of, I think, it comes back to this question of culture and team culture. And I think it also comes back to this idea of being yourself. And for some teams, being silly would work. And for others, being very professional, that works. And I've seen every variation on, Instagram accounts, and they're all successful in their own way. But for you say that you have to get your story, your culture right first. And so I know, if anyone knows Grant, he's very, very good at customer service, all this sort of stuff. And we won't go into all that, because I want to ask this. I want to know how people reacted when you first started doing this. And I'm going to ask all of you this. Was it not weird
Yeah.
at first when you started doing this? I mean, surely.
Yeah, I think. Well, what's funny is it was before it was on Instagram, and we used to do these things called colors of the day, and we'd have people like pick out like what they thought the colors of the day should be, and we'd tag them in it. And I think when we first started doing that, I'd be like, "Hey, you want to follow us?" And they'd kind of cringe. They'd be like, "Do I have to?" and then and then for some, when we started doing TikToks and it started getting a little bit bigger, it flipped, and it just like they brought in screenshots of things that we were doing in our TikToks. So I want that look, or oh, this is my favorite one. It started becoming that like they were following us because they wanted to, and so I think that there was a time where it changed, and I think it was when we started doing more of that other stuff on TikTok for us anyway. So
that's awesome. That's like the story arc of an 80s high school movie or something. Like, now you're the cool kid.
Now, I don't know
now
about
they
that,
want you to sit by them at lunch. No, that's great. Dovey, what about for you? Did you get pushback from team or from patients or anything like that? Or is it just Beverly Hills and people are like, this is cool?
No, when I was doing it, we were really one of the first offices that was really doing this Instagram, social media marketing. And so one of the things that we were very sensitive to was that not everybody wanted to be on. And so we'd select, patients who we knew. We never asked anybody. And we didn't ask anybody that would say no. We kind of pre-selecting people that we knew that would be open to it. And then once we had started getting a nice following, and we had some like famous YouTubers come in, then the kids, they might have seen them in the office, and it was really prime for that here in LA because the YouTube scene here is huge. And so they all live like in Hollywood, like just probably Grand Prix kick a soccer ball to where they all live. So they would all come in. They started saying their friends, and then the kids, it flipped, and they said, we want to be on. We want to be, can you take a picture of us and put us on your social media, which is just fine. And then that took all the hard work out of me. And then in general in the community, I think there weren't many dentists that were doing it like the way we were. And in the end, they appreciated the hustle that I was getting out there and marketing our practice in a different way, being educational, but doing it with a nice flavor that was genuine for me. And so I think all those things together helped it to become more accepted before, let's say, everybody got into it.
Yeah. And I think people kind of get it now. It doesn't mean that people still don't want to be on it or whatever. Most common question I get, and I got it in the chat, questions about HIPAA or questions about, how do you get people's approval or whatever. In a very general sense, what I'll say is that the type of person that you're going to be gravitated towards to put on this kind of stuff, they're good with it. The kind of person that, every single patient comes into my office for a consult, there is a waiver that they have to sign to say that they're okay with this. And the ones that opt out without fail, there's no way we were going to take photos with them. And that's okay. Some people are very private, and that's fine. Like I myself, like on some days I probably wouldn't want to be on someone's Instagram either. But as that's happening, it's an easy opportunity to say, hey, you want to be on our Instagram? Like it's okay to ask for consent, ask for permission, that sort of thing. If you make people look good, and if you're like perceived to be cool, no one will ever complain. And in the rare case that someone ever does, it is super easy to delete these things, right?
Yeah.
So of course, this is not legal advice, and I'm sure there are examples of things where this has been a problem. And yes, we are healthcare providers and professionals and so on and so forth. But I do think that there is a pretty easy path forward to allowing this stuff. To
I think, like you said, get written and then also verbal before you post. So that way you have it in the background, and then, hey, for this post in there.
Yeah.
And then you ask the people that are going to say yes.
So Bobby, I want to ask this question. This is kind of an obvious one, but as we're talking about all this effort that goes into this and all the thought that goes into it, and yes, it's fun, and then sometimes it's stressful and so on and so forth, but has it grown your practice? I mean, do you feel like you can see in tangible ways that it's made your practice more productive?
Okay, so absolutely. There is a social media platform called the Shade Room that picked up a video of mine maybe like four years ago. And that's what led Like that's what kind of like sparked everything to a certain extent. It's definitely helped with my increasing my patient population because um, where I am in Brooklyn, there, they watch a lot of reality shows. So not only have I treated a lot of reality stars, I've been featured on a lot of reality television.
Hmm.
So, I get those clips, they send me the clips, even if they haven't seen me on it, they see it in my waiting area. And yeah, like a lot of building our practice is word of mouth. So you get a teenager that says, "Oh wow, my dentist was on Love and Hip Hop." It just speaks volumes.
Game
So
over.
exactly, game over. And then they send the clip to their friends. So you can just imagine how exciting that is for the younger generation just to see. So has it
Sure.
built my platform? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, a huge takeaway for me, you mentioned it twice now, is the waiting room. It's so easy to get kind of caught up in the the ecosystem of Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and people have no idea, like they don't even know you're on it, and
Mhm.
like that should be a part of your office. Like if you're good at this, like it should be highlighted in your office. And
Absolutely.
are you following us? Like a lot of us have these like social media counters or whatever, but I love the idea that you're like showing the actual videos. It's brilliant.
We have a
Um,
whole
uh,
wall of fame, Kyle. We have a whole wall
I
of
got to
fame.
I got to come next time I'm in New York. Once all this is over, I'm coming and I'm visiting.
Mhm.
I've never been to Brooklyn, so I got to go. I wanted there's some pizza there. I've got to try. Grant, has it built your practice?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I'm always going to be the one that says, culture and customer service will always be number one. I mean, it's like there's no question. I think it supplements the growth of my practice. And you do that by being authentic, making sure it reflects your mission statement and your values, and making sure that it is not different. Because otherwise, you're just going to be a phony. If you're funny there and you're not exemplifying whatever your mission is, then it actually will backfire, I think. So for us, we had a lot of people that come in because they saw a TikTok video. So we do have people that come in because of that. But I will always say customer service trumps everything for us, and guest experience.
I have patients come in because of your TikTok. So thank you, sir.
Awesome. Do I get a referral gift?
Yes. It'll be a branded coffee mug. I don't know.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah,
Ice cream
exactly.
bowl.
So
Ice cream bowl.
yes, it'll be a color change cup. So Dovey, what about you? Building your practice. I've heard you talk about this. It's exploded your practice, right?
Dozens of patients come in that start more, probably hundreds come in because of it. Dozens start, and I would say multiple six figures every year that directly lead to the production of the office. All the while marketing and broadcasting the same message to patients, to existing patients, to prospective patients who might have come in for a consultation, and then to other referring doctors and to their staff members. And so when they say who we're going to refer to, it's to us. And they can see the experience. They can see the experience of the patients in the office. And that itself is a game changer. They know what it's like for a consultation, and they know what it's like to be a patient. So I think for us, it's a big selling point. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I love what you said there. It is not just prospective patients that see it. It's prospective team members. It's current team members. Mm-hmm. It's referring dentists, hygienists, assistants. It's parents. It's everybody.
Yes.
Let's shift into an advertisement. 3M has been very generous to sponsor this podcast this season, and 3M Oral Care, that is. And we have a short video ad that we will watch right now. There it is. Good timing, Scott. I know Dovey likes aligners, so some zoomed in photos on aligners. It's good for you. So you can go to 3m.com/more clarity, and you can sign up to be one of the first to know about what 3M has in their future plans. They have a new Clarity Aligner orthodontic solution coming soon that we will also reveal more details about at the TDO live meeting in April. All right, we have a couple more questions about this topic of being an influencer, and then we are going to get, believe it or not, to the topic of how to work with influencers. Shira Tor, Dr. Shira, who is very good on social media. If you've not followed her, she does some great stuff. I'm going to do a Shira Tor lightning round very quickly. So I want some quick answers here. Yes and no answers where applicable. She said that your Instagrams look very organic and homegrown. I would love to know if you're the only ones posting and updating, or if you're signing this role to someone else. Bobby, what about you? You already said.
Yeah, for my personal, I do it. For my business, my treatment coordinator does it.
Grant, what about you?
Yeah, I do all my own posting, but I do get some help on a few things. Like if we get patient reveal, if we do some minor video editing or some colors of the day stuff, we'll get some help tying and type-it-ons, things like that. So I'll get some help behind the scenes, coming up with some scripts. So it's definitely a team effort, I would say, but I am the one who personally posts everything. So,
yep. What about you, Dovey?
Do it all myself.
All myself. So there's all the three
Boom.
variations. This is like Goldilocks. All right. So do any of you, do you follow any specific people or blogs that help you with your success, kind of understanding the algorithms or the latest trends? Bobby, we'll start back with you. Anybody you follow that helps?
So I don't try to, really, map out the algorithms, but I do what comes natural to me. I post what comes natural to me, and I definitely follow the people that support me.
Yep, for sure. That's smart. Yeah, following back. Team follow back. Grant, what about you, man? You following anybody? Trying to map things after somebody?
Yeah. To be honest, we try to be original with our stuff, but I do follow people that I think are creative and fun. There's a guy named Zach King on TikTok, and also, man, that guy is talented. Dovey knows, man, it's just fun. John Mayer just joined TikTok, and I am pumped about that because
Did he really?
He is so underrated and how funny he is. But I love just watching people who are creative. It inspires me to be creative too.
I think John Mayer likes to be the best at a social media platform for about 2 years and then leave it.
Yeah.
He was extremely good at Twitter back in the day and then left.
Yeah. Well, he's on TikTok. Instagram. He just joined, and he's hilarious already. So
maybe I got to get on there. This show is actually he's most directly responsible for this interview style and show. Current Mood with John Mayer. So don't tell him that I said that. I don't want him to know that I'm stealing his idea. But Dovey, what about you, man? Any specific follows?
Yeah, so there's I think 3 blogs that people can follow in general that just give great generic information, and those are always updated with the specific content and settings for the different platforms and the different accounts and the trends. One is called The Buffer, so that's a blog that does a lot of details like that. There's another one called Later, which also is an app that allows you to organize your posting. And then Social Media Examiner, this guy by the name of Michael Stelzner. I've been following him for years, and he is a great one. He runs a whole social media convention every year. And if anybody is those are really good, and they put out summaries and trends, so you can sign up for their emails. All those Buffer, Later, and Social Media Examiner. Those are really great background information, and they're always up to date, super up to date.
Cool. All right, real quick question. How do you deal with haters on such public forums?
Oh, man.
I'll say I usually...
You go first, Dovey.
I usually say that either I'll either answer gently or just delete the comment if it's really that bad.
Bobby, do you get any flame wars?
You know what's crazy? I think in the beginning, yes, I got a lot of hate. A lot of hate from women, a lot of hate from, just people in general with these no picture accounts. I got a lot of that in the beginning. But then after I was, a little bit more successful on Instagram, the people that followed me, I didn't even have to attack anybody. They would attack them. So that's kind of like where I stand right now, where I don't even really have to, I don't have to do anything. So they know better.
I like that. Nice. Grant, you mostly ignore it, or do you?
I ignore it. No, because when you engage with them, you're giving them what they want. You're feeding into giving them any type of hype. You're better off not responding at all, because when you do, you're giving them what they want. So I leave it alone. I let the people that love me.
Grant, do you have a hater hall of fame?
Yeah, I mean, when we first got on TikTok, there was a lot of haters. There always is going to be people. I read the Man in the Arena, which is a quote by, I think, Theodore Roosevelt, but just just about how, you're going to have people who have opinions about you, but a lot of times they're the ones that aren't with blood, sweat, and tears in the arena, putting themselves out there too. They're the ones sitting in the cheap seats. So you got to remember that, and they don't deserve your time. And so I usually don't spend much time on it. And sometimes for my own entertainment, I'll just clap back, but not ever in a mean way. I don't like to shame people, but like we had somebody, it wasn't even a hater comment. We had somebody say the other day, like his response game went way, way down, down, down. And then I responded with like, well, my time with my family went way, way, way up, 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 up. So you can kind of like, be clever back sometimes, but there's really no reason to engage with haters. It's more about them than anyone else. So
you probably made that hater's night. So that was very kind. All right. So last question on the topic, Grant, this is specifically for you. But I mean, for everybody, actually. I don't know why it has to just be for you, but I'd love for you to share any like short video tips that you have about Instagram Reels, TikTok. I mean, you guys are all very talented. Any like pro tips on any of that stuff?
Yeah. I would think of like when you're making a video, you got to think of it like what kind of value you're giving to them. Be authentic for sure, without question. Like we had talked about earlier, don't copy, just be yourself. But I think the biggest things are going to be, think of it like when you're swiping through something, you've got about a half a second to catch someone's attention. And so think of your first little opening impression as like a headline for a news article. And if you don't have a headline that looks like something's worth reading, they're not going to stay on it. And so getting to capture someone's attention first. And then one pro tip I have is find the person in your office with the shortest attention span by far. The person that's always tuning you out in meetings, all that kind of stuff. And if you want to know if your video is too long, have them watch your video and ask them to be honest on when they would swipe out. I kid you not. I do this. I used to do it all the time. Now I don't do it as much, but I used to do it all the time, where I say, hey, watch this video. Tell me legitimately when you would swipe out. And there are times she'd be like 2 seconds. I'm like, okay, well, back to the drawing board. And it happened. She was brutally honest to me. And that helped a ton because I really knew there was a lot of times I didn't need the video to be as long as it did. So that was helpful.
Great. Pro tips from Dovey and Bobby.
Yeah, I would say I agree with everything Grant said, but just be consistent. Focus on your audience. Definitely when you begin your video, when you begin, whatever you're gonna speak about, just be very committed to it. And try not to switch it up too much. Like be yourself. Make sure that your personality shines. And I know for me personally, I don't know about them, but for me personally, don't be apologetic about anything. Like, whoever you are, let it shine through regardless. Let that confidence shine through regardless. Like you'll see on my page, I'll speak about orthodontics, of course. That's what I know. That's my specialty. But I might go to Trinidad at Carnival, and there you go. You're going to see that side of me as well. So just don't be, don't be apologetic about anything that you do, and stay confident and keep posting and make sure that your inner light shines through. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would add, I love music. I love the camera moving along with you to get that feel like people are standing like just on your shoulder, and that intimate type of conversation where you're just talking, assuming you're talking directly to the viewer, really will engage them.
Yeah. I think, Dovey, you're one of the first ones that, and like you said, you got it, sort of the concept from Dr. Miami. I mean, how many people ever had an original idea?
Right.
6 or something. So, but you made it your own. You made it your own in orthodontics, but you also figured out to point the camera at yourself. I know that sounds like extremely rudimentary, but that allows you to connect with someone in a way that's unique. And you do always seem to be on the move, like you said, which is great. So let's shift into this, if we may. This is going to be on how to work with influencers. A little bit of a shorter conversation here. I just couldn't help but ask you all those like great questions, and you answered them so well. Thank you. I think this is a more universal topic because not everyone can be or wants to be an influencer, but I believe that all of us can benefit from working with influencers from a marketing perspective. And I think maybe influencing as a thing goes away at some point, but I don't know that that's the case. I think the celebrities of the future are influencers on some level. And I think there's tiers of influencers, and so on and so forth. So let's get into this. How many influencers have you worked with before? And overall, did you think it was helpful to your practice? Dovey, I know you work with lots. So
Yeah, I would say probably over 100, maybe if not hundreds. And I would say it's helpful for the practice, but I'll reiterate as follows. Some people might see that I have like these influencers that have millions of followers. We had that girl, the Catch Me Outside girl that came into the office, and overnight we gained 5,000 followers. I would try to remind everybody that, like you kind of alluded to, that everybody is an influencer. This concept is not foreign to orthodontics. For sure, like in the professional realm, we have this concept of KOL. And then for sure in the clinic, we have this concept of soccer moms that are influential. Like one of my consultations today came and said, oh, this mom had said that you were the one to go to. She's the one who does the research. So we know that you're the one to go to. So there are all those people that are always broadcasting out there who is the right person to go to. And so that might be a soccer mom, or it might be a YouTuber that has, 3 million followers. And those 3 million followers could be worldwide, and none of them can be in LA, or maybe a small percentage of them. And they might be following them because they're interested about their daily life or the cars that they drive. And they may not be really interested about the teeth or the braces or the aligners. But I know, but the soccer mom that comes into your office, and no longer it has to be the soccer field. She's no longer talking about her kids at the soccer field or about her kid's doctor, but she's talking about her kid's experience on her own social media. And that mom might have only 100 people following them, but every single one of them values her opinion. And that's where we get to those, what we would call like, a micro influencer, where someone who has a very small following, but very loyal. And so remember, those people are in your office too, even if they're not, in a Hollywood Boulevard with the millions of followers, those people, and they're walking through your office. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to harness their power through social media, but harnessing their opinion to advocate on behalf of the practice is something that we can all keep in mind.
Yeah. Influence is not limited to social media. And, what's interesting is the last year hasn't been a whole lot of influence on the soccer field, with things closed down. So
right.
It's actually elevated, I think, the influence in the arena that is social media. So if you weren't ready for that, it's been a difficult time. The digital realm's taken over, but there will be a return to that. There will always be soccer moms. God bless them. Yes. So Dr. Bobby, I know you've worked with lots of influencers. Has it helped, and in what ways?
No, it's definitely helped. I think that us as orthodontists, we have a wealth of knowledge that a lot of people want to hear about. How we put our spin on it is up to us. So we all have the potential to be influencers ourselves. Working with influencers of course, it's helped me. Of course, it's built my platform. It's not always easy. I've never done contracts. I've never done any contracts with anyone. What I have done for certain influencers that have a certain platform is I've given them discounts on things. I've given them discounts on some of our services. I personally don't believe that we would ever need to pay any influencers because we have so many skills that they can benefit from. So I've never done that. It's not always easy, and I'll be really quick about this. It's not always easy. I feel that because of today's society, a lot of influencers that are not necessarily celebrities, they're semi-celebrities, they feel as though they deserve certain things. So they might approach you a certain way. What I say to that is, know your worth, know what you can provide for people, and act accordingly. Like we're worth more than we kind of think with the things that we can do for people. So I would say if you are approached by an influencer that says to you, maybe they get in your DMs, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm going to be in your city. I'm going to be in Beverly Hills, Dovey. I'm going to be in Beverly Hills next week. And I want a free whitening, or I want to say, well, I'm not accustomed, very nicely, I'm not accustomed to, giving my services away for free. Let me just research your Instagram settings. Let me know what you can provide for me. Don't be afraid to ask them what they can do for you. I think a lot of people are, deflected a little bit by the hype of the amount of followers. People can buy followers. They're deflected by who follows who. And in the essence of what we do, we provide great services. We have done a lot to get to where we are. So we need to let these influencers know what our worth is when they want to, when they ask things of us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. That's great.
Absolutely.
Grant, you're in Minnesota. I'm suspecting there's more big influencers in Beverly Hills and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I'm in Memphis. It's not like it's just, overflowing with big movie stars and things, but do you do things with influencers? Or do you do deals for influencers?
We did it in the past before we even were really big on social media. We did a few of them where they did videos for us. Like we had one gal that was filming things like, she was really charismatic in the camera. So she'd filmed lipstick tips, top 5 lipstick tips for having braces and, stuff like that. So to be honest, I think they covered it pretty well. I mean, I think that when it comes to local businesses like we have, it doesn't matter if you're working with a 10 million follower influencer that has reach all over the world. You're better off really spending a lot of time making sure that local mom is a super fan. And maybe, and like Dovey said, I mean, they get on, they can go rave about their experience at your office on their own social media channels in an organic way. I mean, that has so much more value than any contract you're going to sign. I mean, we get tons of things. Like the bigger you get, it's more like, I feel like those influencers do well with products that can be sold all over. Yeah. Whereas, if a brand comes and approaches me for something, and I don't love working with brands, to be honest, because I think it takes away from the authenticity of your page, but that's a whole nother topic. But I think that, those kind of projects, it makes more sense to do like kind of the bigger things like that. If Chipotle wants to do something, because they're all over, but from a local level, I think these guys already covered it pretty well.
You wouldn't work with Chipotle?
Oh, I would work with the Chipotle in a minute. Harpy, I'm waiting for them to call. We honestly, I've talked to my wife about this extensively though. I mean, we get a lot of brands, but it's like, I feel like personally for me, it's like, it kind of, like as a person who does get approached a lot from a lot of brands for that, it kind of takes away from the authenticity. As soon as I'm like an ad sponsoring a toothpaste, all of a sudden your like authority in the field goes down, because it's not my honest opinion anymore. It's because a toothpaste company is telling me I should sell their product. So, I mean, you got to ask yourself.
I'm going to push back and say you should take some toothpaste money. Why not? You've got brilliantly white teeth.
Yeah,
we would be happy for you. I'm not like when I see people online like that are, doing some ads, as long as it aligns with you, like I'm okay with that. I'm just going to say if Ben and Jerry's approaches you and they want to do,
you can't say no to that. That's for sure.
That's my one exception. We have done a few.
That's my one exception.
We've done a few. We did one like a couple family ones with the NFL. We did one with What Do You Meme, the game, because we're like, oh, this is fun. We can make a fun video out of it. Man, when it comes to ortho, I'm pretty protective. I try not to get, I like to be like, I'm authentic. It's my opinion. It's nothing to, you don't need the money. I mean, us orthodontists are doing pretty well off. Like, why are you doing it? And so you got to ask yourself that question, because great, I'm sponsored by Colgate, but so what? It's like, if you like the product and you believe in it, talk about it. And so I think, to me, it's how I view it. So.
Let me ask one more question before we do our other ad for the night. It was a joke. So no, I think that's Bobby got it, I think. No, I think that's fair. I just want you to get paid, Grant. That's all. So,
exactly.
But let's ask this along the lines of influencers. How are you structuring these deals? Like usually, they could reach out to you. I'm going to share later a way that you can get in touch with influencers in your area. But in terms of the agreements, Dovey, do you do like actual like written contracts, or is it just sort of a verbal agreement? And what do you ask for them?
So anything that any discussions is always in person, because it really depends on in a DM you don't really get a full sense of the patient and what their vibe is. So all discussions are in person, and then it's my name on the door and it's my shop, so really anything goes. But the way we would say it is, we have a marketing budget, and some of that is we buy ads in the local yearbook. Maybe we buy some billboards that are designed by Neon Canvas, and then we also have the ability to have walking billboards, which is someone who's wearing our smile. And so that discussion can be, and it might be someone who anyways is struggling a little bit with the fee, and so we can offer them an opportunity to reduce their fee by advocating on our behalf. And but anything is depending on who it is and what brand we're working with. Like if it's, sometimes we have deals that are given to us directly by Invisalign, and so we'll work directly with like bigger influencers, or people who Invisalign have chosen that they want to get treatment. And so it could be anything from, oh, we'll give you an extra set of retainers, to a certain percentage off treatment. But those would always be they would depend on the influencer, depend on the discussion, and also just the relationship that we feel that we can create, and how invested the influencer is in the success of our practice.
Well, let's just wrap it up with this, because I know Dr. Bobby said she just does it sort of verbal or whatever, I think she said. And then Grant's kind of like over the influencer thing. It sounds like working with them. Grant is his own influencer. So what does Grant need?
I'll say like what I expect from them. My usual summary is very quick. We want a post in the beginning and a post at the end, and a story every single time they come to the office. And then in one time, at home, like, maybe when they're trying on their aligners or switching from one week to the next.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So you do parse it out. My thought would be that that's important, but I don't work with influencers. We'll like do like little, barter deals. I love bartering. It's fun. My friend Zach, my friend Zach Pitcher, he loves it too. And he'll like trade a cow for braces, or like a trailer or something. Like, why not? Let's have fun with it, So I think this could go on and on and on in terms of how you structure it. I think it'll fit your personality. Like if you want to do a contract and have them sign it, whatever, I'm sure they're like, okay, whatever, and then some of them, it might rub them the wrong way and they may not want to do it. So you'll figure that out for yourself. Dovey's on, number 193 influencers. So he's figured it out at this point. I think that's wise to kind of make it a very clear and attainable thing, post the beginning, post the end, do every story every time you come in. I think that's brilliant. So,
and then also a total permission for us to use any content that we gather from our end.
Sure. Yeah,
we've done it, and we talked about this earlier. We've done it where we've had them create content for us too, which is like another way to do it, where it's not even just on their platform, but if they're good creators. We had a gal film the whole 2 videos for us. One was like braces looks for Valentine's Day, like a makeup look for Valentine's Day, and she did it, and we posted it on our stuff. So we contracted her a while back and be like, hey, you're really good at this. You got a great charismatic personality, and we did that. That was a few years back, but that was kind of fun too. So that worked out pretty well. Yeah.
Is that the one where you're putting makeup on that poor girl, or is that
that was launched at the same time? So I did the spoof video, but the actual video was with an influencer. So she did the real video, and we had really great feedback on it. It was providing value for people, so we contracted that out, and it worked out well.
That's smart too. Again,
we enjoyed
bartering. We're taking the economy back to the 101. All right, so I do have one more ad. This is from 3M. Final word from our sponsor, and we have a little image. There you go. Scott is just on it tonight. A new 3M brand Clarity Aligner solution is coming, offering proprietary technology and advanced treatment design from a leader in orthodontics that you trust. You don't want to miss the unique benefits it offers your practice. Sign up to be the first to find out at 3m.com/moreclarity. That's 3m.com/MORE. Clarity. Clarity is CLARITY. Thank you to 3M. All right, so guys, we have like 2 more questions. We're going to wrap up. We're a little bit over on time, but you guys are just too good. So you've done it to yourselves.
I got one more tip, Kyle.
You got to go.
For these guys at TikTok. No, I got one more tip. The kids are all on TikTok. Ask them when they get their braces on and when they get their braces off if they started filming a TikTok for it, because they're all doing it.
Always.
And then they want that last scene of the video clip of when they get their braces on or when they get their braces off, and they need to film it. And sometimes they're putting you in it. And so you can get into their TikToks way more now than even your own. And that is another way to get into other people's feeds and different things like that. So that's a good way.
Yeah.
They're all filming them. And you just asked, did you film with TikTok to get your races on or off? It's just another pro tip. You can get into a lot of them that way and have some big influence that way too. So
Grant, that's so great that you said that. Let me just chime in one real quick.
Yeah, sure.
So when we place the races, and it's so funny because everybody under 16 is on TikTok. We sing a song. You know how when you go to a restaurant, it's your birthday, we sing a song when the braces come on. We sing a song when the braces come off, and we prepare the parent for that. So they always record it, and it's my D-Bond song has gone viral.
Oh yes.
And I wrote them. Awesome. I'm gonna duet it with
yes.
I'll do it.
Can't wait.
But it's so funny. So what he said is a definite gem for your office. You need to have some sort of relatable something where these kids they want to get you on their TikTok, get you on their Instagram for the beginning and the end, because that's all they care about. When are my braces coming off? That's all they care about.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Sorry, I derailed that, Kyle. My bad.
No, this is great. I've got like 2 more questions, but if Grant Collins offers TikTok tips, we're doing TikTok tips. There you go.
TikTok tips.
Nice. Triple T with Guy Fieri. So I don't know. So I'd had a question here about influencers. Are there any red flags for the times where these things have gone badly? Were there some signs where you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that? I mean, I know some of these people like disappear. Dovey, what's your red
Dovey,
flag?
You have to have some, right?
Yeah, they can disappear. Financially, sometimes it becomes I guess you would call it like a burden on the practice. So, bad debt, you write it off as a marketing expense. But in terms of especially with the health of the teeth, it's nothing like that. It's more just they do this. Some they disappear. They don't hold their end of the deal. And so if you we're a combination of written and verbal. But if you would have a written thing, you could say, well, you know what? If you don't hold up to your end of the deal, then the fee is the retail fee. But we just move on. Big picture.
Yeah. Which is generally how things are, whether they're influencers or not.
Exactly.
Bobby,
exactly.
You got any red flags from working with influencers?
Like I said before, Kyle, I feel like, if you have an influencer that's in the same city as you shouldn't have to pay them. You should be able to do a bartering type situation.
Yeah.
Again, I've had influencers that are in LA, and I've sent them like whitening trees, or they're having like a happy meeting, right? So I would just say, just know your worth. Like, we are sitting on a gold mine as orthodontists, and especially the panel, and including you, Kyle, with our personalities, we have the potential to have an extravagant social platform. Period. Yeah. So let's just make that work and make that happen for us. But no, I don't have any red flags. I think that anyone, like I said, that's in the city with you, that's just like, no, you got to pay me to post. No.
There's a red flag.
Yeah.
That would be red.
Pay me to post. No, I have companies paying me to post. So why am I paying you to post? So it's like, I feel like you just need to know your worth in that sense. And
yeah. I think what we've discussed and kind of landed on is you make it a one-to-one conversation. This person is not God. Like, they are a person and they have influence. And if it benefits you to the degree that it benefits you, you barter out something and you broker an agreement. And if they don't keep up their end of it, you're probably just going to say, oh well, I'll move on. Yeah, that's true of every consult ever. It's always a brokered agreement.
For every marketing idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Dovey, we've talked about this, not just you, but you brought this up in the pre-interview. 2 questions, guys. 2 questions, audience. You're doing great out there. On the topic of audience size, I think this is important. I have a little image. This is from the ebook that we did with Lightforce. It's completely free, but I think this does a good job of explaining some of what we've talked about. Can you see that on your screen? I hope so.
Yes.
And obviously you can't read all the little text and stuff, but I think what you'll see is at the very top, mega influencers, people with 1 million followers or more, then macro, then mid, and then what we've talked about, which Dovey got at, is micro influencers who have 1,000 to 100,000 followers, and then nano influencers who have fewer than 1,000 followers. Correcting the grammar on this graph, fewer than. And so I think that says it all. But like, I think the sweet spot for orthodontics is micro influencers and nano influencers, and I think the geography being local obviously is more beneficial. Scott, you can hide that. Do you guys agree with that?
I agree.
Yes.
I think that a lot of times on Instagram, I'm not sure about TikTok, but I think a lot of times on Instagram, it's not totally about the amount of followers you have. It's about who follows you. So I know for me, once I had those appearances on those reality shows, some of my patients saw it and it was just like, oh, they're going to see, oh, who follows you? You know, if you like hip hop, there are a lot of rap artists that follow me. Oh, I'm going to follow her because these people follow her, even though her following is not that big. So it's about who follows you and how many followers you have and your content.
Yeah, I would add that, it's less to do with if you're going to see an immediate effect. For us, sometimes it is. Someone posts a story shout out, and then that day we get a lead for a new exam. But sometimes that person just follows you, and sometimes the second person who's following you doesn't necessarily need ortho, but they might send a friend. And so it could be months or years down the line that they say, you know what, I finally followed you, or that, I don't live here, but my friend who lives in LA may need someone. So there's a bit of a long game, and do it because you enjoy it. And if it works for you, and if it will work either immediately or in the long term, then try that ride.
Yeah. Run a referral report and see who has sent you the most patients in your practice, and reward that person too. Like, I think it's,
Exactly.
That's internal marketing 101, but like,
Yeah.
Have a mom's panel. There's like a million different ideas that kind of come to mind, all of which the Grant Collins does, I'm sure. But like taking care of the people that are the influencers inside your practice that you may not have recognized appropriately.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, like, thanking those people oftentimes is the first step, but do something special for them if you can. So let's end with this. Some overall advice, or some just general tips, because you guys are the experts at this. If someone's wanting to work with influencers, or they're wanting to be an influencer, what's sort of a nice way to cap this night? Dr. Bobby, what do you think? What would you say?
So for me, for my personal page, like, there are a lot of things that I just feel like I should just be able to post personally, right? About my personal life. Like, I have a couple of different businesses. I have a lot of, I'm basically a New York City socialite. So I put that on my personal page. On my professional page, that's where you can see, results. You can see everything about my office. I feel like for me, I needed to do that in order for me to be able to express myself the way I want to express myself on social media. So I would say for our audience, for your audience, definitely, bring a little piece of yourself to your platform, whether it be a combined platform, personally and professionally, or, individually. You pick which platform is better for you.
Yeah, and pick your voice. Exactly, for sure.
And run with it.
Dovey, what do you got, man? What's your overall advice? Don't do it.
My overall advice is just start, because one is better than nothing. And then I would say the best way to start, that's a comfortable way, if you're not comfortable with the camera being on you, is focus on education, and have a mix of your practice, of your life, of what you're willing to share. But just start with education, some before and afters or clinical stuff, and then have a nice mix, diverse of private and public and practice. PPP.
Man, you're killing it. You've got like your notepad out or something. You got some good stuff here. All right, Dr. Grant, he does. He has a notepad. Look at that notepad.
Yeah, look at it.
I was just as you're inspiring me as I'm going.
This is amazing. He's taking notes, people. Dr. Grant Collins, what would you say to someone wanting to work with influencers or be an influencer?
Yeah, I think you guys summed it up really well. I mean, being yourself, being authentic is super important. Having fun with it. Again, going back to that, make sure you have a bigger vision, a bigger mission that you're serving, and honestly, get in there, just be you. I feel like try stuff out. Don't sweat it if something doesn't go well. I mean, as you should see, our first TikToks are like cringe worthy. I mean, they're so bad, but you had to start somewhere. So I think you can just go in there and as long as you're having fun with it, I think like Dovey said, just get started and have a good time. You'll be good. So
Yeah,
give
right
it a
on.
try. Give it a try.
Yeah. And I have to admit, like, I know we're the guests here today, but man, Kyle is underrated. Dr. Fagler here. This guy knows more about social media from the get-go. I still to this day have to ask him about all the tips with ads on Facebook. He would walk me through that stuff back. That was when Facebook was the big thing. So he still is. I mean, he gives us a lot of credit tonight, but man, we all admire you. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Very kind of you.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I'm the Wilt Chamberlain to your LeBron James. So I I quit the game a few years back.
You're a legend. You're a legend.
Well, you're very kind to say that. And Grant, you're one of the people I go the furthest back with. Dovey and I celebrated our 5-year friendversary on Facebook today. But Grant and I, we knew each other very, very, very early on, back in the day. So it's super kind of you to say, and I appreciate that. So, but no, the three of you are the experts, and I have the final word. I want to say this: if you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, I'd like to try and work with an influencer, it might be fun. The team at Neon Canvas has spent a few months now trying to locate, because we have lots of clients in over 40 states now and Canada, and we're trying to find an agency that could help put influencers in touch with our practices. So if that's something you're interested in, because maybe they come to you and maybe they don't, maybe you're interested in doing this sort of thing and kind of getting your practice, dipping its toe into the waters of influencing. You can go to neoncanvas.com, fill out a form, say that you're interested in finding influencers, and we will help you with that. Guys, thank you. I have a couple plugs to make, and then we're going to wrap up, and I'm going to thank you again. So don't leave. Don't click off of this. I really want everyone to be on our meeting. It's going to be amazing. I wish the three of you could be at the meeting. We were trying to keep the numbers down because of COVID, but you know what? Screw it. Come to Memphis. We're going to host you. But again, it's going to be at my house. It's like $50, $25 for staff. It's really cheap with early bird. We made it cheaper this year. So if money's your big, thing right now, it's a no-brainer to get 8 hours of CAE to do what we're going to do. I cannot tell you the special things that we're planning right now. It will blow your mind. It will be the best virtual meeting of all time. I promise that. I was really proud of the last one that we did. This one's going to blow it out of the water. Live, interactive, 10 of the biggest speakers at my house, and relevant content for everyone. So go to tdolive.com. Please sign up. It's like 4 or 5 weeks out, so I'm going to have like a panic attack now as I think about that. Our next podcast will actually be our last podcast of the season. So soon, I know you're thinking, yes, so soon. Thursday, March 25th at 8 p.m., we're going to talk about clinical mastery, which is to say, how do you be excellent at clinical orthodontics every day, day in, day out? Can't wait to announce the guests for that, and then registration will be live soon. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, good for you. I hope you're enjoying it. You made it around to the end of this thing. It's like minute 88, so you must have enjoyed something. Give us a 5-star review, if for nothing else, then for Dovey and Grant and Bobby, because they came on. And you can listen to 20 previous episodes there on YouTube at your leisure. Finally, thanks for spending your Thursday night with me. I don't have to work tomorrow, but I have to do a 3-hour lecture to dentists. So woe is me. And then I'm going to get a massage after because I need one. And so thank you to our sponsor, 3M. A little self-care for me tomorrow. And thank you to our guests, Dr. Grant Collins, Dr. Bobby Peterson, and Dr. Dovey Pereiro. And from all of us here at the Digital Orthodontist Live, Scott and Alan in the other room, I'm Dr. Kyle Fagala signing off. And it is now time for me to eat my sushi dinner that arrived. The Uber driver, he got it here at like 7:58. And I was like, I wish you could have gotten this here a little earlier. But I'm going to eat it now, my little crab stick nigiri.
Enjoy.
Guys, thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Good night, everybody. You guys are beautiful. Have a good night.